Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I know it's a little bit difficult. Right after lunch session is usually, I don't know who puts what there, whether, it's not that important, or maybe somebody said, okay, now wake everybody up again. So I tried my very best, and thank you. When I saw this title, How to Grow When Markets Don't, Adjacent Innovations, and that was proposed by the organizer, was thinking, what should I talk about this? What qualifies me to talk about these kind of things? I'm leading a research center here in Frankfurt, and I was wondering, I looked a little bit at our history, and I found out maybe that's exactly what we did over a long, long time, but we didn't know it. And I will show you a little bit later why I believe that is true for Air Liquide. First of all, I would like to introduce Air Liquide. A lot of people don't know us, even we are really everywhere, every day, but usually a lot of people have never heard of us. No, we are not an airline. Believe me or not, some people call and say, want to buy tickets. You are Air Liquide. We said, no. And so the greatest thing happened. No, we are an industrial gas company. Till today, we're still the largest one in the world. Or maybe our friends from Munich and from the US of Praxair and Linde, they will soon bypass us, but we're still in a good position for the future. We have 65,000 employees, present in 80 countries, roughly 18 billion turnover, 1.8 billion profit, and we have more than 3 million patients and customers. So that's quite a lot. So we get some first-hand information from our final customer, which is not necessarily an industrial company, but we really have end consumer and patients we're talking to. What are we doing? It's relatively simple. I mean, I saw these complex molecules this morning. Probably nobody can pronounce how they're called. For Air Liquide, life is easy. We're talking basically about naturally available molecules like oxygen, nitrogen, and argon. Okay, it's an atom. Forgive me that. And we're also producing molecules from natural resources like hydrogen, helium, xylene, acetylene, and CO. With these couple of molecules, we do most of our business. And that's challenging by say to grow up to an almost 20 billion company. And I show a little bit the history. And then you see probably these adjacent innovations were really the key to be where we are today. Major trends, probably everybody has a similar topic, energy and environmental transition, change in healthcare. That's for us a pretty important market today, healthcare and supplying gases and things like this. And digitalization, which of course everybody has as a buzzword, but we look what is in there for us. Also in various applications, selling something, contact to customers, 3 million customers, running and operating large plants. So we have different topics where we look where digitalization makes sense for us. Innovation powerhouse, what we do is we build we reinvented, let's say it this way. Even these molecules are known for forever. I mean, they are known for centuries already. We went back and trying to get a better scientific knowledge of what the molecules do today, what we know today, and we heard this morning. Things are continuing. Universities are writing papers more than ever, and we need to understand where is it going to, because we ourselves, we cannot research everything. And that is a very, very fruitful and very valuable source of information for what can we do in the future, even if it's just oxygen, argon, hydrogen, all these little things. The next big important thing is technology. So how to produce these things, how to utilize them, how to apply them, how to transport them. That's another big important pillar. We're working up to the building and the design of our plants. We build our plants by ourselves, at least we design them. Somebody else is constructing them, but the technologies are usually Air Liquide. And then in the end, our customer experience, nothing is good as long as the customer is not buying it and is not willing to spend money for it. That's the final proof that what we do makes sense. And as we heard before, innovation is an idea which makes money. I'm fully subscribed this and emphasize this. Just an idea, nobody's paying money for it, internally, externally. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it's a waste of time and money in the end. From an R&D point of view, we have 9 R&D sites, whereas a couple of them, like these group R&D sites, we have 5. Group R&D is corporate R&D, so I belong to corporate R&D, sponsored, funded by Paris. Whereas we're sitting here in Frankfurt, not far away from here. Main research center is in Paris-Saclay. In the United States, in Delaware, we have a center. We have a new center in China. One in a long time already in Japan, and another smaller one in South Korea. Beside this, we have some, let's say, a little bit not necessarily core business company like Seppic. They're producing special chemicals in France. Air Liquide medical system, and Schülke here in Hamburg, they're producing chemicals for disinfecting and for hospital care and hand disinfection and these kind of things. They have their own R&D center. So I'm here from Frankfurt, not too far away. Just to give you an idea, so a lot of people know us. If they know us and they found out we're not an airline, then they know us from carrying around cylinders, bulks on the highways. But we have more than that. It's not just the cylinders. We have a lot of expertise in process engineering. As we said, we build our plants by ourselves. We design them by ourselves and improve them. Combustion, key thing if you deal with oxygen, hydrogen, and any kind of these gases. Combustion is a topic. Material science, big topic in terms of safety, handling, storing. I mean, a 700 bar cylinder made from fiber, carbon fiber, it's a challenge. So that's for us essential. Designing manufacturing, that's a smaller one. We're also looking, of course, in 3D printing. How does that help us? Small size equipment. Computational data and science, also something we cannot live without it anymore. And it's increasing more and more important for us. Analytical science, fine chemistry and life science. So each of these sections we have in R&D groups working on this, competencies, and the trick is then get these people together to work on the projects we have today. Okay, so now let's jump into the topic, adjacent innovation. I was wondering, okay, how I should start, and I looked around a little bit and found, of course, famous diagram from Harvard Business Review, and where you have here the question where to play, so what is my new market and how to win, develop new products and assets. I know we can read it here. It's create new markets, target new customer needs. Core business, I think everybody knows that most of the activity is for larger companies or for any company there. Key focus of each company, key mandate for companies to stay in business. So that's not surprising that most of the time money spent is in the core business. Now we're talking about adjacent, so then we're talking about, okay, have a little bit different product, have a little bit different market, transformational or disruptive. I'm going to be careful with this. In the chemical industry, disruptive, I don't know exactly how that looks like. I'm still waiting till somebody comes and throws a new chemical on the table and everybody wants to buy it. I don't know. So I think there's a lot of things where we see it in the electronic industry, and everybody gets nervous and excited, and we should do the same in the chemical industry. People who know the chemical industry, petrochemical industry, I mean, they are a little bit conservative, and we're talking about risks, we're talking about hazardous materials we're dealing with, and we're talking about huge investment from time to time. So that takes a little bit longer. That doesn't mean we don't have it, but it's a longer time frame, and you will see we also experience this. So now we're looking at this adjacent. So important is, yes, I have a different market, I have a different product. What I added to this, and I'm adding something in the Harvard graphic, but I thought something is missing, and that is a new business model. Entering a new market without a new business model, I don't know how far, probably you see it in your companies. It's not just a new market, things are totally different there. You have different customer, you have different environment. We heard it before, even in an adjacent market, the first question, what's the turnover, how many plants I sell, what's the market size? Usually the answer is, I don't know. Because usually first thing is, in an adjacent market, most of the time I have different customer. I have a little different product, and then playing this game, give me a list what I earn over the next 20 years, what is an NPV, IRR, no clue. And I'm a great fan of Clayton Christensen's Innovator's Dilemma. Probably most of you know this book. I mean, about reading books. I mean, that's one of the things I would recommend. I agree. So, and there's also the other book he wrote, then The Innovator's Solution. He gives some insights in the issues large corporations have with new developments. They rather die than changing themselves to new challenges. And you see this everywhere. And I think that's true. And we feel it every day that companies focus on the core business. All their intelligence, all their talents, everything is in this direction, and they are successful. Otherwise, they don't grow and they would not exist. So everything they do is right, but with certain rules, like before we invest, I need a market, where's the customer, and. This we don't have in adjacent markets already. It starts already to be a little bit fuzzy in this area, and yeah, how to deal with this, and I can maybe give you some examples at least how we do it in Air Liquide. Again, adjacent innovation in Air Liquide. We are existing since 1902 when we started to work on liquid oxygen, a little bit after Mr. Linde. So we're still fighting a little bit who was first. Probably Linde was first, but I think we were at least close. 95% of our turnover of this 18 millions we make with these few molecules. They don't change every day. So our idea, yes, we're looking for new molecules. That's not our business model, and that starts already. I mean, we are in the midst of convincing our management that methanol might be a core molecule. I tell you, that is liquid at room temperature. This is unknown. And it's not a joke. It's really, most of the people in our organization come from air gases. They know hydrogen and CO. Anything else is different. And that makes it difficult already to convince the people. But again, with these molecules, we are working since almost 120 years. So if I looked, and I looked a little bit, and all that is on our internet, so it's nothing secret. I looked a little bit, what did we do at the key steps over the years? So we started in 1902, air liquefaction of oxygen. Then it took a long time. In 1952, we started packaging liquefied gas in cryogenic tanks. We can argue, what is this new? But carrying around suddenly liquefied gases, you need the tanks, you need the logistics, you need a different way of filling them. So it's still, we're talking about oxygen, but the challenges you have is somewhere in an area where, well, probably it started small. Yeah? Probably somebody said, why you don't deliver it liquefied, or I don't want to have it pressurized, which was the past, usually the way you provide gases. So you're in a new area, even with the same molecules. In the 1960s, we started to work on pipeline. So we have one of the largest pipeline networks in the world for gases. Here in Europe, in the US, a smaller one here in Germany. Netherlands, Belgium, north of France is our largest system. That was new. I mean, you pump in a gas in the pipeline and then you distribute it somewhere. I mean, I build a pipeline underground with CO, with hydrogen, with oxygen. People get nervous. So immediately you're in a new area, in a new business model or a new market where everybody has to agree on. I mean, it's not that a researcher comes and says, I want to dig a pipeline or put a pipeline in the ground and the management says, yeah, do it. I tell you, that's a long transition phase. So even we're still talking about the same molecules, but it's a different business model. Cryogenic technologies for space industry. We are, if you see the Ariane space, the rocket flying, at least the hydrogen, the oxygen, and the tanks for them, they're coming from us. Again, a new thing, new materials, new applications, and talking to a space agency or refiner, I tell you, it's different. Yeah? They have different requirements. It's a complete different world, different quality requirements, and meanwhile we are quite active in the space business with all kinds of cryogenic materials, freezers, whatever. They are 20 years in the space, things nobody ever thought before. Electronic market emerged in the 1980s. We started, of course, with delivering our gases. Okay, all of a sudden they came and said, well, that's not quality-wise what we want. We need whatever, much, much higher quality, much, much higher purity. Also, this needs to be organized. You cannot use your pipeline network. You cannot use your transportation system the way you did it before. You have to reinvent basically the entire logistic, the vessels for it, everything changed there as well. Still, we're talking about gases. Meanwhile, in the electronic market, we are providing molecules for precursor. So that also came up. And said, oh, can you provide this and that? And now we're producing really fine chemicals for the industry. I think in any iPhone, mobile phone, a couple of molecules are from us. Next major step in '95, we expanded into a range of hydrogen. So a lot of people know us from hydrogen, but that's not that old. I mean, it was in the 1990s to decide, yes, we go into the hydrogen market. Still heard that what bellyache this caused to some people, but it takes a long time to come to the point to say, no, we produce our own hydrogen and deliver it over the fence. Only 20 years ago, meanwhile, we have 40 plants, 40 hydrogen and CO plants in the world. 1995, same time frame, launch of home healthcare as a business. We found out if you're in a hospital, and hopefully you don't have to be, but there are usually some tanks, oxygen, nitrogen, artificial air. If it's not Linde, it's from us or from the competitors, so it's a typical thing. But that also evolved to home care, where really people have their small cylinder, having them at home and gives them a complete new way of freedom and autonomy, what to do. That's a different client type than a hospital or a refiner or something. I tell you, that's a complete different business in terms of how to provide it to them, how to track it. It's a medicine, so you have to get through registrations and approval and whatsoever. And in 2013, we came to the hydrogen mobility. That's a little bit our big bet, I have to admit. And today's in a discussion. I heard it before. Is it coming? Is it not? We hope it's coming, but that's really the bet. We are having now a couple of gas stations or hydrogen stations here in Germany and some other parts of the world. We have a small fleet of hydrogen cars to show, yes, that might be an alternative way of mobility. By the way, probably it won't come in the car first. We are talking now to trains, to people who have a train and a railway. They're much more interested to replace their diesel engine with hydrogen. Cars is a little bit different story, but we see things are coming. So that's serious. And I said, well, that's all with the same molecules we're talking about. And in the end, we diversified over the years. I mean, basically where we came from, what we call industrial merchant, this is the cylinder, the bulk material, the trucks you see. But meanwhile, the electronics, which started in the 90s or 80s, we have 9% of our turnovers from there. Healthcare is 18%, and large industry, this pipeline business is 29%. So for me, stepping a little bit back, this is adjacent, which is today core business. Yeah. Oops, I now should push again. Okay. And if you look at where we are, and with the gases, as I said, they're basically everywhere. And each of these application, is it advanced technologies in space? Is it in the electronics? Is it healthcare? Is it technology research for universities? Is it here refining steel chemicals? Each of them needs a little bit adapted way of serving the customer, even with the same molecules. And it always requires a certain technology because it's always some applications going ahead with this. Okay, so that's where we are today. Well, what do we believe? Why? What are success factors to be, let's say, successful in adjacent areas? You need to know your new customer relation. You have to have a new customer relation. We know everybody says we need to be customer-centric. If you open our homepage, we have the same thing. But if you want to go adjacent, probably they're different customers. So you also have to listen to people you don't know yet. And you have to be open for that. Super critical, because usually salespeople and business developers are not getting paid for that, to talk to people where you have no clue whether they buy something. Yeah? So that's the first hurdle you have to overcome. But that's utmost important to understand what they're looking for and what could be out from their requirements, issues, headaches, what could be a new business for you. The next thing is a strong scientific and technical expertise, not only from our own technology, but also of their technologies. Because what we provide usually goes somewhere in their organization, in their technology, in their area. So we found out it's very good to help them, that we understand what they're looking for and they understand what they're looking for. You have to have a certain level of expertise. Just selling a cylinder of oxygen, you can do that. Competition is doing it. But if you ask them, okay, A, B, C, what can I do, limitations, this you don't get, but you need to have that for new business development. And then something I'm hammering on pretty often, and I know people wondering why I'm from R&D saying that, is the flexible and quick business model adaptation in terms of strategy, funding, resource allocation, and sponsoring. And that's innovator's dilemma pure. The management doesn't support it. I would say forget it. Yeah. I mean, at a certain point in time, you have to reallocate your resources, you have to reallocate your strategy, you have to reallocate whatever, and you have to say, yes, I want it. If you don't have that, it's probably dead. And everybody's dreaming of, yeah, we're going to be like a Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was not, and what we heard this morning, we have to be kind to our people, we have to make sure that they feel well. I think Steve Jobs didn't do that. I mean, he was, as far as I understand, pretty awful. But he had an idea what he wants, and he made everything possible that his people are able to do it. Yeah. If you don't have that, I'm really convinced, and I saw that many times, there is no business, no new business. So that's the reason why it's so important to have the management in just R&D, and I'm in R&D a long time, I'm in technology development a long time. If management said, no, I don't know, I don't see it, you're dead. No matter what good business models you have, and the better your idea is, of course, the higher is the chance that they maybe say, yes, maybe not too bad. Now I have to find a way to show that's from me. But that's a key element in this. And all these three disciplines have to work together and interact together to make it successful. It's a simplified way to see it. These three work together. It's not a linear approach. It's an iterative approach. Somebody comes with an idea. A customer has an issue. Do we have a technology? Do we have a gas? Can we mix something? Can we help something? And yes, management, yes, if you have a customer, I'm willing to fund it. Because you have to make proposal work, you have to develop something, you need a pilot plant, you need whatever, you need capital, and then it becomes interesting. Yeah. But all these three, they have to work together, and then you can find a new approach. Be patient for growth. It's not me, it's from Clayton Christensen. I said I like the way he analyzed the situation, and I see it in other companies, I see it in our company, I see it in my previous company. What he recommends is launch new growth business regularly. Because if you find out you're running out of business and now I need to invent something new, it's too late. You have to do it when the business is going well, when the stocks are okay. If the stocks are falling and you start investing in something, I'm talking basically stock companies, if you start then investing in something new, nobody will understand this. Yeah? So you have to have a healthy organization, and then usually that's not the point when you start about bad times, but this is exactly the time to start with something new. You need to divide the business units from time to time to split off and give them the autonomy to develop something. Not split it off and sell it, to be focused on the core competence. That's a different story. That's efficiency, that is, yeah, we are working on the core competences. It's really keep it in the organization, but keep it separate from the normal business, because that gives them then the chance to grow. And this is where people say, and I totally agree, be patient for growth of these small business units, but be impatient with profit. I saw that, and the big bets, like our hydrogen, is a big bet. We don't know whether we ever will make money out of it, but it costs us a hell lot of money already. I saw that in large demonstration projects which run over 10 years and cost millions of euro, when nobody in the end knew, will it ever fly? And guess what? Most of the technologies development, they don't find their way in the reality, and they don't get the return they were looking for. Most of the time, it's a bet. So he recommends, and that's what we also see when we do our adjacent approach, we have to start small. And then, but the profit should be there. So don't go for projects where, yeah, fund here a little bit, fund there a little bit, maybe in 5 years, maybe in 10 years. As we heard it also, everybody agrees, we have no clue what in 5 years is going to happen. Yeah. So start small and give them time to grow. What could happen if it doesn't grow? Okay, you didn't lose too much. Or it grows, and in 10 years, it's part of your portfolio, like our healthcare, electronics, or whatever business. Yeah, it takes time, at least in our industry. Now, how we do it in Air Liquide. As I said before, this science and technology, I mean, most of our top management is coming from R&D, research, technology, so we're a pretty technology-heavy company, but we need to, we need to understand the science behind it, we need the technologies, and we need engineering and construction. So all of these different areas we have in Air Liquide, so that we are able to develop something from a piece of paper up to commercial reality. With partners, of course, but we are in the loop. We can coordinate it and say, okay, we know what we want, we know what we need. We work with others together, of course, but it's good to have the overall picture to say, what do I need to do? So we really can't come from a little beaker test, oh, it's getting green and yellow, up to a €2 billion project. We did this in the past. Yeah? That's a good approach for that. But this alone doesn't help. I mean, we're all fascinated about it. We're all engineers and scientists. Oh, it's great, catalyst and conversion and yields, but that alone doesn't help. We need to incubate it. And for this, we have an own organization. It's called Global Market and Technology Businesses. And in this, again, is advanced business technology. They should incubate new ideas. They should test them. And if it's successful, they're going to market it then later for the normal business line. And we need an open ecosystem. That's most important. So we alone, we cannot do it anymore. I think we heard that many times. I don't want to hammer too much on that. We also have a startup company, or we have a fundraising company, let's say, funding new technologies and startups to see who has a good idea which we can incorporate in our business model. I'll give an example, and then I'm almost done. Success story, I would say it's biogas. Biogas, Air Liquide, what you have to do with biogas. It started with our membranes. We have a membrane company in the US, and they came up and said they had a request from a customer, can you clean, I think it was municipal waste, methane, something like this, and later they expanded on biogas. And I said, okay, yes, we have a membrane. In the end, we said, okay, but we provide you with an entire container. You just put it there, you put your gas in, and then you can eject it into the normal natural gas grid. Okay, but then all of a sudden things happen, and that's really the positive thing in Air Liquide. Today, you can buy natural gas from us. We have a natural gas station system in Northern Europe. You can buy natural gas from us. We have contracts with large logistic companies, which they're filling their trucks with biogas. And we offer overall an entire new value chain from station fleet planning, site identification, permitting. So we're helping the customer to go in that direction. Is that a multi-billion-dollar business? Not yet. But meanwhile, what we see is people are urging for, what we heard, sustainable, renewable sources for energy, and that could be one. Will it ever be a billion, 2 billion business? We don't know. But it grows healthily, so we're making good profit out of it, and we want to continue to grow that business. And all this, of course, is because people everywhere said, yes, it makes sense that we go that route. There is some R&D involved, but of course not all. A lot of things you can buy. There is some engineering involved. Important is the business guys who wants to make money out of it. And out of this, it's a completely new value chain all of a sudden for Air Liquide. And coming from landfill, biodigester, I tell you, talking to these people providing this is different than anything we knew before. Talking to a farmer, talking to cities, utility companies. Again, you need to adjust your business model. You need to be open to have different contracts all of a sudden. I mean, if we come with our contracts, they say, who are you? Via this intermediate step down to, we have cogens, we have fuel cells, renewable hydrogen, and for transportation, where we can use that methane. So we would like to use this methane also to use to produce green or blue hydrogen, as we call it. What else we have in the pipeline? So we're looking for CO2 to methanol, renewable hydrogen, biomass utilization, recycle economy, energy storage, all small. We're trying to find projects which make sense. Could be a demo project, but in the end, we don't want to spend too much money without having a return. We are more or less advanced in these different areas, but again, we all agree in Air Liquide that will all start small and then let it grow and see whether it's going to be successful or not. A little bit like a greenhouse. Not everything grows till it's large. Some things die before, but then they die soon enough that you're not spending too much money and you can refocus your resources in somewhere else. But in the end, but be patient for growth. We need a little time for that. So if management shares that patience, then you're on a good track. Thank you.